we're back here again. In this box, we have another clone carburettor. Let's get straight into it.
Here we go then. As you can see here, we've got a package from Zhang Ding Ting. I did buy this carburettor, by the way. This isn't a sponsored video. I did try to get it for free, and it didn't work. I must have been the only one mental enough. Can I say that? I must have been the only one crazy enough to spend that on that. It obviously wasn't that, but I'm glad they put that value down because I didn't get any VAT import tax on it, so that's good. You may have seen these on AliExpress or the likes, and I believe these are a copy of the Lectron Pro Carbs. Now, I haven't got a genuine Lectron Pro Carb here to test it up against, so the base mark is going to be this, which is the genuine Lectron H series that I've got. Now, as I said in the previous video, I am a big fan of the Lectron carburettors, the clone carburettors, which are currently fitted to this Husqvarna. That clone carburettor doesn't really work properly. So we're going to see if this is an improvement on that, or even better than this. I'm going to say the answer is going to be no, but let's find out. I'm going to do a proper YouTube unboxing as well. Wow, look at that. Awesome. Couple of things to say as I undo this. A lot of people in the last video said that the fake Lectron carburetors were good value for money and the genuine Lectron carburetors were too much money. At the end of the day, these work and the fake ones don't, so you get what you pay for. I'm a big fan of the Lectron carburetors. They work for me, they're really easy to tune. Yeah, I just like them. It just works. So if you're going to be spending £5 on a cup of coffee nowadays, you can't really moan at the price of this feat of engineering, especially if it works. Let's not forget that bikes are expensive, so to buy something like this, you're going to soon get the fuel saving costs back anyway, at the very minimum, let alone the performance upgrades. Is there other carbs available? I don't know. This works for me, so I don't really care. So let's get into this. By the way, Lectron, sponsor me if you want. Give me a real one of these to compare it against, because I know this is going to be crap. Well, I expect these to be not very good anyway, so there's that. There's the political talk over. Let's get into it. Oh, nice box. Ignite speed, command the future, precision in every turn, power in every movement. So as you can see here, these are all the things that this carburettor is probably going to do for your bike. That's good. Let's get into the important part of this. Oh, there's a few people that sell these carburettors in this box. These people were the cheapest. Oh, here we go, moment of truth. More bubble wrap. It's certainly been packaged well. And here we go. Oh. What have we got? We've got another metering rod adjustment tool, we've got a rubber boot and a throttle holder top slide thing adjuster. Most important, stickers. Hell yeah. Look at this. Wow, look at this. There is tubes galore. This is the Kenada. How do you say that? Pro Series. KND 1683996. This carburettor was £244. First impressions, it's quite weighty. The machining seems to be quite well done. One of the improvements on this straight away, now these didn't have it on the genuine or the fakes. The fake carbs, the metering rod hole was too large for the metering rods, meaning you'd get too much fuel on idle and could never set your idle up properly. You might have been able to fix that apart from the lack of air screw. Now, as we can see on these, we've got what I assume, yeah. So we've got idle screw, power jet screw, and I think this is some sort of air screw on here as well. Now it does go into this jet here, so maybe it is a secondary power jet, but I think, being on the airbox side, it is your air adjuster screw.
Yes, almost correct. This adjuster here controls the flow of fuel from over 8th throttle. Torque jet is what they call these. Torque jet, power jet. So yeah, just another jet to control lower throttle openings. and make tuning easier. That's great.
Maybe that's the fix for these carbs. We've got a slightly different style choke here compared to the other carburetors. Oh, there's not one fitted in there. Brilliant. One of the other things I noticed on this carburetor as well is they have gone back to the traditional paper/card gaskets here. So for the float bowl, for the top, and also for the half joining gasket in here as well, which neither the genuine H series or the fake H series had. So that's quite interesting. They've decided to go for a gasket in between them this time, so they can't swell up, unlike the fake carburetors, which the rubber in them does swell up the second it smells petrol. So maybe that's one improvement. We've got a transparent float bowl there. Nice. Just a very small observation on here quickly. It looks like the float needle is still having slight issues coming down onto the float tang here. The genuine Lectron carbs do that too, so nothing new there, and it'll probably be better once they've got fuel in there, but yeah. Now I want to fit this to the bike before I go pulling it apart, just to rule out that I have put it back together incorrectly, which is unlikely but possible. So I think I'll just inspect the slide quickly by taking these 2 bolts and this cap off here, inspect that, and then we'll bolt it on and see how it runs. Aha, so there's a change already. We can see that these metering rods have got this groove machined into them. Now I believe on the Lectron carburetors, this is what they call the accelerator metering rod. It's also a slightly different slide design on here too. But as to be expected, because it is a slightly different carburetor to the H series. That looks reasonably well machined though. On the metering rod situation, I also bought this kit, which was, I think, 20 or 25 pounds. And it comes with your spare gaskets, adjustment tool for your metering rods, idle screws, air screws, O-rings, washers, etc. Most importantly, it comes with this set of needles. So for reference, and this means nothing, although Christ, they're a bit all over the place. Hang on. There we go. So the smallest is a 1.55 and they go all the way up to 2.45. All of these have the groove machined in the back as well. So we'll do a bit of research and see what that is supposed to do. But it looks like it would give you more fuel the way these work. Maybe that's right, maybe that's wrong.
Again, not too far off. In essence, they are a mechanical fuel pump. Like on a 4-stroke carb, you have the pumper carbs where they have a jet which, as you open the throttle, they squirt in a bit of fuel. This does the same type of thing, but mechanically with no moving parts. It just draws fuel up from the fuel tube in the float bowl and puts it into the carburetor to be burnt. So that's what that does. On them, and I appreciate it's probably a little bit hard to see, the machining on these is not fantastic, as to be expected. First of all, they are very sharp on the edges. And also, the machining, as you can see we get to the end, it seems to then splay off to this side, so it's not very central. How this will work on the copy carburetors is unknown, but as I expect, it won't work how it was originally intended by Lectron. As always, you get what you pay for.
So there we go, we can see the fitted metering rod has the groove here too, but is unmarked. I imagine this is in the middle of the box, so a 2.05, if it's anything like the old one. Yeah, again, overall machining looks to be quite good. Now, funnily enough, as I look down here, this hole doesn't look very round, and that is where the metering rod sits. So it will be interesting to see how these carburetors perform. It doesn't look very round, does it? This hole was the issue with the other clone carburetors, in that it was too large for the metering rods, thus allowing fuel to escape behind it and always give you an over-rich mixture, which you couldn't adjust regardless of what metering rod or settings you used. Let's see if they've fixed the issue on this 4 times more expensive carburettor. Probably not is going to be my guess.
I now have a little bit of experience with these carburetors and I have got it running to a degree. Most importantly, I have got it to idle, which is fantastic. It's not running 100% correctly yet, but I think I'm getting there. The running of this video and the true test will have to be in another video, because if not, it'll end up being too long. Okay, so it hasn't got stuck in the bore, which is good. It does still feel quite soft, but there we go, it hasn't got stuck. It does possibly feel a tad loose on the plunger itself there, but time will tell about that. It came out in one piece at the very least. In fact, as we've got it off, I'm probably not going to get another opportunity to take it apart soon, so let's take it apart and get an idea for the inside of the carburettor too. I have spent the last 2 days, more or less, playing about with this, trying to get it to run properly. These are not a carburettor to buy, to bolt on and be happy with, so where the real Lectrons are, as we know. It is a very transparent float bowl, which is nice. You can see exactly what's inside. There's the drain screw. There is the infamous hole, which, as you can see again, does look a bit rough on the edges and feels a bit rough on the edges too. So how round that is unknown. This is a critical part of the carburettor though. The card gasket does mean that you haven't got the poor quality of rubber ones to try and squeeze back in once you have taken the float bowl off though. Okay, quite a nice touch. There's 4 brass pins here to align one half of the body up with the other. They are very weighty. We can see the hole here where the adjuster and the jet is for your torque jet, and this hole then feeds through to this hole here. So I think, just for argument's sake, I'm fairly sure it goes to one of these. We'll just stick the airline through and confirm that. As for the power jet, it must be this tube, this hole, and it runs up here and then goes in this way, which then runs to this hole on the other side of the carburettor and must go down to this tube here. So the other one of these is going to be for the choke. So yeah, that makes sense. We'll just confirm that now. Yeah, not sure if you saw that, but the back tube, which seems slightly larger, about the same size as the power jet tube, this sits in the float bowl and sucks up the fuel to go to your torque jet. As you screw this jet in, it makes it leaner, and as you screw it out, it makes it richer, which confirms that is your choke tube. It also means that the choke adds in fuel rather than cutting air. Well, we kind of know this one is for the power jet, but yeah, the tubes are machined correctly with the holes. We have the idle adjuster screw there as well, which of course sits on the ramps on the slide here. They recommend roughly a 2mm gap from the end of the body to the start of the slide. So this gap here, 2mm, is where you'll get your ideal idle settings. There is a reasonably sharp edge on this slide here, which I'm sure isn't the proper way to do it. I think that's probably just poor machining, like these. Strangely enough, just noticed, these bolts means that this tube is removable. If you wanted to machine one up, if you're that way inclined, you can potentially change this without the need to press it in and out like you would in this series carburettor. If you can. I can't quite remember, but I think you can. So these are removable. That could be quite handy, potentially. So there we go, I think that's about it. We will bolt it back together and get back to testing.